Live from the J.C. Newman Cigar Studios in the great state of New Hampshire and the Gurkha Cigar Studios in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome to the Smokin Tobacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Kevin Acuff.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tobacco Show. We barely made it, but we're here. I'm just being fucking honest. I mean, why lie about it? I mean, we barely made it, but we're here. Including our guest, but you know he's a trooper. So it's weird to call him a guest because he never really was a guest. Although I guess these days he is because he's not always here. But that's okay. I still get excited either way when he's here. I mean, it feels like old times. My original co-host, now my new co-host. It's really a full circle moment, if I'm being honest. But we'll get to him in a second. Kevin, how are you doing? Uh-oh, Kevin. Can't hear you. Does somebody want to tell Kevin?
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Is that better?
I remember.
I was muted for the intro thing.
I remember my first show. I actually did it with our guest, and it also had a lot of technical issues that I was new to. So I totally understand where you're coming from right now.
Here, check this out right here. What's this?
Kevin, today is not the day. I am fired up today. Today is not the day. But yeah, I'm sorry. I had to. I needed to get it out somewhere. But it's okay. We'll bring our guest on, and he.
Can we just do away with you, and I'll do the show with our guest?
I mean, if you want to, sure. I mean, yeah, if you want to. I mean, my alarm clock goes off at fucking 3:45. So I mean, you'd be doing me a no disservice there. But no, I mean, if he's gonna be on the show, I want to be here. So, not that no guest is more important than another, but with few exceptions, there's few people who come on this show who my general rules don't apply to, and this is one of those people for obvious reasons to those who know, and maybe not so obvious reasons for our newer viewers. But if you go back into the annals of the Smokin Tobacco history, you'll figure it out. There would be no Smokin Tobacco show without this guy. So let's also remember that, too. I mean, this is, the former vice president of sales, La Flor Dominicana, no more. That's the last time I'll ever read that off on this show, which is weird. It's weird. I never thought I'd have to say that. Now, I actually don't know the official title, but he'll tell it to us in very few brief moments. But it's still from Winter Park, Florida. It's Jonathan M. Carney, who needs no introduction. I mean, look at
Oh
this
my
guy.
God, Kevin, do we have a way to actually mute him and get him off the show without ruining the the stream here?
Or he'll probably just click a button and he'll be gone.
Oh, wow, I'm sitting there in the green room like, we got to get some energy going off in this thing. Oh, there he goes. He's like, yeah, I'll go.
He's like, I'm out.
No, it's funny. It's funny. Today was like one of those days. My day was perfect up until like 6 o'clock. And my neighbor right next door to us had a major surgery. Matt, you can come back on. We'd love to have you back. I feel like he just, there he goes. So she had a major surgery. So she had a blood clot. And so it was either my wife or my daughter and I were swimming in the pool. And I'm like, well, she's throwing the dogs in there. They don't really swim well. So I said to my wife, I'm like, I got the Smokin Tobacco show at 8. And I said, I'll try to get Autumn, my daughter, to sleep. She went to sleep at 7:59. I couldn't believe it. And she was like, right before that, she was going ballistic up into it. She didn't want to go to sleep. She didn't do this. And then for whatever reason,
I need to get a whiskey.
Thank God she went to sleep at 7:59. And she ended up going, it was just like, boom, done. She went right in her bed and she said, "Good night, Daddy." And I was like, "All right, great." So yeah. So it was quite a way to get this thing going here. So there we go.
That blood clot stuff is no joke.
Yeah, and since she just
That's
had a pretty
scary.
serious procedure, so it was, it was something that she was feeling pain, and I don't know what the result of it was. They should be back soon, but fortunately, where I live uh, is less than that. It's literally a quarter of a mile to the hospital. It's one of the best hospitals in the state. It was where my daughter was born, and great spot, Advent Health, and they do a wonderful job. So we're right here, so it's a really nice thing. Like if you could, if you needed to go to the hospital, you could, it literally takes like a minute, which is by car, which is excellent. If you had to walk, it'd take you 5. It's one of those things where it's almost quicker to walk. But anyway, glad to be back on. I still got to update. I know I still got to update those intros, and I got to get that done soon. I'm gonna keep my name on there though, but
You
my
should keep
computer
your name
broke.
on there.
Yeah, 100%. I was like occasionally starring Jon Carney, but no,
The
my
legend.
computer broke the last couple days too. So I got one of my wife's purses that I have my iPhone set up on because all my iPhone stuff for podcasts and things, I guess they're up in Maine. I don't know where they are here. So I'm gonna upgrade my lighting
Oops.
here relatively soon. But I think I've done pretty well this time around. I think this is a pretty good angle. I think I look okay. Um, hopefully to the guests out there, visually appealing and audibly appealing at the same time. But glad to be on the show, guys. Looking forward to talking. And it's been a bit, Kevin, since I saw you. It was in July, I think, the last time that I came on as a
Yep,
surprise. And then
it was.
and then I just saw Matthew about a week, I guess last week, or a week and a
He
half
was
ago.
down here in my lounge. We were sitting on the
hmm
couch. It was awesome. Hmm.
So yeah, glad to be back on.
So you live in a land, Matt, where you actually get, cigar peeps. I'm kind of, even though this was kind of trade show central for so many years, it kind of like isolated out here. Nobody from Cigar World ever comes to Vegas.
Which is weird
You
because
know what?
it's Las
At least-
You know what?
Vegas.
At least-
I don't understand that. You know what I mean? I don't get it, and
Yeah.
I was in the industry with LFD for almost 15 years, and that was my experience. And the only times I was in Vegas was for the PCA show, or IPCPR or PCA or RTDA, whatever, all the different names it had. And then they go out. Then a lot of manufacturers go out to the big smoke with Cigar Aficionado. Um, and then other than that, very rarely does anybody else go out. And when you go out there for that, everybody says they're going to go and visit people. They don't really often do that. They end up getting caught up in the things they're doing, caught up with their friends and families. So it's really strange, and I'm sure it is to you, Kevin, because it's the cigar capital of the planet for the business side of it, twice a year for the most part. And then after that, you really don't see a lot of people. And I
And
don't
there's a lot of
understand why.
shops.
Yeah, there is, and they're good too. And Bentley's obviously going to be a very different size. We'll talk a little bit about the scope of what we're doing with that. What our goals are initially, and we'll get bigger as we go on. But I'd like to change that, and I'd like to make the places that we're doing business with all our similar priorities. So, but it is kind of weird. Like I've always felt that too. I'm like, why did I never go to Vegas? You never go to Nevada. It's just a strange thing. I'm sure people are watching. They said, "Oh, I do go and this and that." Not as much as they go other places. And it said there is good shops out there, and it's not like it's that expensive to go there.
Yeah,
Not
there's
to
some
gamble.
legendary shops here for sure.
hmm
Well, you got the local shops, and then you get all the tourist shops. So there's a good mix of stuff going on over there. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to do.
Then you have your amazing co-host here,
Yeah.
that has
Well,
a lounge in the house that's
yeah.
would definitely be open for some fans. So, and always open for industry peeps.
Listen,
So once I
both
get
stu-
rolling in Vegas, Kevin, I'll come by. We'll hang out. We'll have some cigars. We'll eat some steaks.
Oh yeah,
I'll do the
baby.
show from your studio maybe. So no, we'll
That
get
would be
something going. I
that'd be
would
fun.
like to try to I would like to try to do Vegas at least once or twice a year outside of a trade show. Would be nice for business purposes. It's a quick flight, nonstop from everywhere.
and it's a great,
Not that
great time.
expensive. I'm not a big gambler either, so I generally spend my money on food and drinks. But now that I'm an entrepreneur, um, the drinks and food will be delayed for a bit of time as the money hopefully comes in. And
So no
and with
more
that,
no
so-
more bizarre meats. Now you're gonna go back to McDonald's.
No, I'm not saying it's off, but I do eat. I've always eat at home quite a bit, but no more extravagant meals for a short period of time. I've joked
You
around
got
with people. I'm like, you'll know when I'm successful. I won't, it's the same thing. I won't say much, but there'll be signs. When's the wagyu, when the wagyu beef's back, that things are going well.
Hey, Bentley must be doing well. Oh yeah? Why? How do you know that?
Hmm.
Well, John's posting Wagyu steak like every other night again.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. That's
And he's
true.
driving a Bentley.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he also had 2 bottles of wine with dinner. Really? Yeah, 2. 2 liters. Yeah, I know. Yeah, John loves the wine. He's getting quiet, but John loves the wine. I've dined with him way too much.
I love wine.
I've
Yeah,
dined so
so
much.
yeah,
Oh,
I
I've
do enjoy it.
I've heard some amazing wine stories from you, Matthew, involving the two of you.
Yeah, I became the food and eating guy, and then I really started doing cigar dinners and things around where I cook at them, and
Which are
I have a
also
catering.
awesome.
Yeah, and I have a catering license, so I do a lot of dinner events. I've probably done about 80 in the last like 5, 6 years. Obviously, they ramped up a lot more after COVID. So yeah, I became like the eating and that not the in the cigar business. You always have people that are like the eating and drinking guy. We took it to an entire different level. We're like, I'm going to cook you a meal, we're going to eat it, and we're going to drink nice wine at the same time and have great cigars. So it was really kind of a trifecta because the cigar industry tends to have a higher level of alcohol consumption naturally. Um, but we really put it together, and I really kind of put it into one piece where we brought that experience to people. So I'm going to carry that on with Bentley. The gourmet smoke sessions was something that I did with Hacking Gourmet. We have an event concept which is going to be an experience-based concept. I'm going to start dropping the word event because again, it seems to be like the cigar industry is run into uh, not lazy events, but an event is not setting up a table and putting cigars on it and running specials. I've been saying this for years, and that still happens, which is fine. It does have a place, but I prefer to have experience-based things. So we have an experience-based program that here in the next couple months, as we get a handle on where we're at, as we're slowly getting the product out to retail shops that we're in, and kind of getting a lay of the land on event experience, and I'll slowly start calling it event experience, and I'll drop the word event off. But I'm thinking about calling it the uh, Bentley Tobacco GT experience. So it'd be like the Grand Tour experience type thing. So I thought that'd be kind of a
I
cool play
like it.
on words and fun, and it really is kind of like a grand tour. Like I go around and um, we have great dinners, we have great food, great drinks, great cigars, and share a lot of fun times together. So look out for those. I'm not stopping them. They're going to get even better, and B stands for better, and we'll really elevate where we're at in that. So I do intend on keeping some of the same concepts going. That kind of created my image and my reputation in the business. I think a lot of the reputation I've had, and you know and it's shown in the last few weeks here, just that we're only like 12 or 13 days into this, and it's been overwhelming, the support that we've had from retailers that have been interested in what I'm doing, interested in what Bentley's doing, and then consumers at the same level. There's still a lot of different reach, people who don't follow the social media side of it, but I've really appreciated it. And for those that think I'm completely crazy and a jerk, that's fine too. But it's been overwhelmingly, I'd say probably 99.9% positive, and we're going to do a lot of fun and exciting things, and keep that rolling. Of what put me into that position and created that reputation is what's going to continue.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like I said in the beginning, I mean, it's weird to see, it's just weird to see you doing something different, but at the same time,
Hmm.
life goes on and things
Yeah,
change, and,
right. Yeah.
um, I'm happy for you regardless. But yeah, it was just one of those things, man. You kind of had your own identity with LFD, and then you didn't, but now you're
Well,
with this new company and this new brand,
yeah,
and now you're gonna be the American face of Bentley,
yeah.
and that's cool because it'll be very different. You're gonna be a little bit more building of a brand, a new brand, introducing a brand, and if there's anybody that can do such a thing and be successful at it,
Uh-huh.
and somewhat quickly, if I might add. It's you. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, people have to understand, like, as much as I have a personal relationship with Jon, I have a business relationship with Jon. So, yeah, it's easy to be like, well, that's your buddy. But the reality is, because he's my buddy, I've also spent a lot of time with him. And I've spent a lot of time with him doing his job. And I've seen both sides. I've seen the front of the house where you see him at the events. I've seen the back of the house where he's on the phone. He's cranking emails. He's prepping for his events, like doing his thing. I see how hard he works. And, I bring it up because that means a lot. And it is the difference between being successful and not. Does Jon sometimes be a little unorganized? Yes.
I feel
Everybody-
unorganized.
I have to balance the table out. I have to balance it out, Jon.
What do you mean? Do I feel unorganized? I don't even know what that means.
Do you seem unorganized?
He seems
it was a
unorganized.
poor choice.
Unorganized?
Sometimes.
I don't know,
Hold
man.
on, let me finish.
Unorganized. I mean, that's an insult.
I gotta say
I'm
something.
violently-
I got it.
I'm
Listen,
violently organized. Violently organized.
Listen.
My whole life doesn't function without organization.
listen. I have to say something. Okay. I gotta
You should
make
have made it. You should have. Well, you don't have to say anything. So let's talk about something real quick.
But
Speaking
no.
of unorganized, speaking of unorganized,
Listen.
I'm reading the show notes, and I'm smoking a Bentley Green Churchill right now, and you can find that available at our sponsor. It is available. It
Are you
showed
gonna
up
segue
yesterday
away from my point?
at 2 Guys Cigars, the number 2 guyscigars.com. And
That was a
I'm smoking the Bentley
great-
Green Churchill. Kevin, what are you
Me.
smoking? Because I know I haven't got you samples out yet. As I said, most of the samples that we have as we're getting things organized, going out to retail outlets and media will be next. But what are you smoking, Kevin?
So I am smoking a Warzone from Espinosa. My
Oh,
last
nice.
one. This was I love this cigar when it came out. And this is actually the last one we have. I think Barb's probably gonna choke me when she finds out I smoked the last one. But
If Coop was here, he'd be like, "Oh, fanboy, haha, fanboy."
hey, there's some
And then-
cigars that are this legendary.
No, but I am on your side. But
This one's good.
And Matthew, what are you smoking?
let me see. I don't know. Do I want to tell you? Or you're gonna cut me off halfway through. Not just-
It depends on-
You called me unorganized.
My point that I was getting to that was, regardless, there's not much bad you can say about Jon Carney because he excels so well, and I've seen how well he performs, and I know for a fact that Jon Carney is going to take Bentley Tobacco to new heights it hasn't seen before.
Can I make
You
a Carney point? or are you gonna do your
unorganized
cigar
types, Kevin.
first?
And he may or
So-
may not eat cereal off the floor. I can't confirm or deny that. But I'm smoking
Hey,
a Bentley
I haven't
Okay.
done it. What are you smoking?
Bentley Green Churchill. That's what I'm smoking. Which I have to say, this is my third one.
Good grief.
This is my third one. And I'm very impressed with these. And again, like I said to Jon, it wasn't that I went into it expecting it not to be good, but I'm just really blown away by how awesome these are. I mean, all around, these are just, they're fantastic. They really are. Like, and I haven't smoked the Connecticut's yet, which I'm very excited to. But after smoking this, I mean, man, these are really fucking good cigars. So again, it's a newer brand. People have, it's a new brand. Jon Carney's pushing it. Fucking buy them. Just fucking buy them.
So there's a couple things here.
They're
There's a
awesome.
couple things I'll talk about. Here. So first of all, I think that was unique about me moving on.
I'm
from
hitting the
what
sauce,
from
if you haven't noticed.
from what I was doing before was most people that I think it was a shock for them that I moved on, not because of they didn't think that there was opportunity for something else or whatnot. It's just I'd done it for such a period of time and I was doing it at a very high level. So it was, and I'm young. So I started when I was about 25, 26 years old. I got promoted when I was 27, I believe, 28. So I'd been the VP of sales for almost 12 years, well, over 12 years. And I was with them for nearly 15. And very rarely it'd be like Michael Jordan leaving in the middle of Game 6, about to win the title,
Bro,
and
you did
they have
not
the
just
best
do
year
that.
ever, and he leaves in the middle of the game. You know what I mean? So it was July 1st. You move out of the middle of the game in terms of perception. And, hey, what's next? It was going great. I'm a face of it. The company had its second best year ever. We were in the middle of the best year ever. So I think that was kind of surprising for people, just because of that, and then how positively I spoke and speak of the company, and the experiences I had there, and became a face of what it was doing. So I think that was unique in that regard. But I will say one thing that was very positive there was the quality of the tobacco, the quality of the product, and part of what intrigued me about the opportunity with Bentley and bringing it over here and starting U.S. operations was the factory. That was the second thing I asked. The first thing I asked, either of you want to guess what the first thing I asked was?
I'm not good at guessing
No?
games.
I was
Well, it's a very easy question.
I was deferring to Kevin because Kevin, needs more interaction on the show. So I try to give him this
Well,
opportunity.
I was
so
going
the
to make
first
a,
thing
I was
I
going to
asked
make a
was,
Carney
I
point,
said,
but you kind of drug out your shit. So
yeah, I'll answer the question. So the first thing I asked them was,
Ooh,
what's the relation to the car brand? And there isn't a relation to the car brand. It is not Bentley cars, but there are some similarities to it because it's the Bentley brand. And it was a brand from the 1970s. So there's things that are similar, but they are not related, and we are not associated with car brand. And then the second question I asked is, what factory is this coming out of? Because generally, I'll tell you if well, the second question was that. Then after that, after they answered the second question, which I'll answer, the third part was, are you proud to say that you're part of this factory, and are you planning on talking about it? And they said, yes, absolutely. We're very proud of the relationship we have and whatnot. And so the answer to the second question was Hoya de Nicaragua. So I said, wow, that's the oldest Nicaraguan cigar factory. They're really hot. They have been for years. They make great cigars. They have access to some of the world's best tobacco, and they're making some of the most popular brands out there. And even Hoya de Nicaragua, they don't have dogs really there. They just make good cigars all around. So if a cigar comes out, it's good. If it comes out, it's very good. If it's very good, it's great. If it's the best cigar you've ever smoked, it's something that's transcendent. So they really are doing a phenomenal job, and they've been doing it longer than anybody else. So that was a unique point for me, where I was like, that's a great selling point. That's a great relationship, and I'm looking forward to telling their story through Bentley, which was great. So that was a really comforting thing, and that was even before I smoked them. Then I smoked them, and I said, these are very good cigars. I'm really happy with them. They're in a good price point range. They're from $13 to $16, and I said, I go, this is a win. And then I saw the branding and everything and all the back end of it, what they put into it in Europe and in Germany, and I said, you guys really put a lot of effort and focus into this. You've built something great, and very rarely do you get to start at zero with something that's complete like that. So we had a lot of discussions internally on that and what direction we wanted to go. And we'll get into that a little bit more in the show. But those were the first few things that I asked. And I asked them in a very organized manner. So Matthew can be very proud of my disorganization, allegedly, in that
I love how you
regard. It
stuck
was
that
very
in there.
I'm never
organized
gonna hear the
question.
end of this. Like,
Yeah.
this is why, like,
No,
being
you
a
never.
media guy sucks because you can't say anything negative because no one will ever forget about it. But you say like 100 nice things and they'll
Yeah.
never remember. It's like, perfect example,
Mhm.
with your former employer. There was a cigar that is not in final production that was given to me, and I tried it, and by a certain member of that team. And I said, do you want my honest opinion? He said, yes, I do. I gave him my honest opinion, which was like 85% good with a little bit of like, you should change this. I have never heard the end of that little bit of like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you know what? Fine. No
It's
more,
all in your.
no more, no more
It's all in your
criticism.
It's all in the delivery, Matt. See, if
Yeah.
you criticize, but you can make them smile when you're criticizing, then you're good, right?
I mean, I think the delivery of it live on a show is
John
probably
also
the
gives me
negative
more
aspect
shit
of it. That's
on a
probably the
day-to-day
negative
basis.
aspect. Yeah, that's probably a negative aspect.
Here's
Yeah.
one thing I was going to say about John and about your new venture venture with Bentley, and just, I mean, you've got, number one, you've got to be just absolutely like going with both hands and both feet right now, because it seems like this thing is like blown up for you right out of the box. But I think there's a reason. Oh, I mean, multiple reasons, but I think one of the main reasons that happened is just the respect that you have earned in your time in the industry. You know, even people that aren't in the industry know who you are, and
This is true.
you know, understand what you
Yeah, I
have. And I
appreciate
mean,
that.
you're there to answer questions for people and whatnot. You're approachable, and that's huge. And when people see where you came from and what you've done, and now you're behind something new, I mean, you know, the expectation, I think, is it's going to be excellent, because you're not going to spend your time and spin your wheels on something that's not. So,
Yeah, yeah, and I have a unique approach to how I've always handled my interactions in the cigar business. I tell people I'm not hard to get a hold of. So if you haven't heard from me, or you're trying to get a hold of me and can't, you're trying the wrong avenue, because I'm very accessible on social media, text message, email, phone. Phone's a little challenging just because of the bandwidth of being a one-man show. And then when I was with LFD, traveling as much as jumping on airplanes and things. But I I really I really am. I try to be accessible. I try to be purposeful in the decisions that we make, and that I make with my brands and things that I do. What is this? We are all like your true thoughts on the review.
See, people like
Um,
when I talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
certain
yeah, yeah.
things.
Controversial. Yes, it's TMZ over here. The So yeah, no, I try to bring that to everything that I'm doing, and I try to bring in, a real honest approach to it. And then so the retail partners that I work with, I'm accessible, and especially with Bentley, where we're forced to be. A lot of people say purposeful, and slow. We're forced to kind of be that way because there's no rush. We have a chance to do it exactly the right way for us and for the retail partners that we're working with. We don't want to grow at the expense of a retailer. We don't want to leave anybody behind. If they brought the product in, we want to work with them, and we have creative ideas, and as people have experienced things with me in the last decade and a half, I try to bring a lot of unique experiences to everything that I do. So coupling that with a good cigar, and a really reputable brand, and manufacturing partners is a really good piece. So I think that's why it's kind of taken off the way it has. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of people bringing it in, and there's a lot of people that are on hold right now bringing it in. We are ramping up production, and we have more coming before the end of the year, and then we'll be at the PCA show in April, and we'll ramp up then as well, and expand further. But really, what brought the reputation and made this success possible on the short term was, the effort that was put in for the last decade and a half. So, I've talked to our partners in Germany with that, and I said, hey, this has been a really fast 12 days. There's a lot more to come. This next few weeks is going to be quite busy as we fulfill these things, and then we'll go to the next steps and see where we are. And then the next thing to do is, which will be the expectation of our retail partners, is me getting out there and doing the things that built that for the last 15 years. And that will look different than it did previously, mainly because we won't be in 2,000 retail stores. The goal with this is to be in quality over quantity, and it doesn't mean those places that we worked with weren't quality by any means. It's just the scope of our business isn't as big at this time, and then the way that we want to grow is very different.
You have to be more selective.
We're not. Yeah, well, yeah, we really are. We're hand picking
Sure.
with retail partners of what we want to do and where we want to be, and if they're in and that makes sense, then we're in and we work with them. And if it doesn't, then we politely, maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe it will be down the road, but if it doesn't make sense for you, that's fine. And you don't have to be in 1,000 retailers to be successful. You can work with a smaller group, and have a lot of success and manage it well. And that honestly benefits everybody. It benefits the consumer, it benefits the retailer, and it benefits us, and everybody equally wins.
So John, I love that approach, because it's you basically you're choosing quality over quantity in that respect, and you're making sure that the product stays top notch, and it's what the people that are buying it are expecting you to deliver. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome.
John, I had kind of a random question, and maybe you might have mentioned this earlier. Maybe I just missed it. So, with Bentley being new to the United States, obviously they're already established in Europe. How many countries are they in outside of the U.S. already?
They're in 25 countries
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in
Okay.
25, and I can't list them all off the top of my head, but
No, that's okay.
they're in 25. Yeah, they're in 25 countries. Intertabac, the international trade show, is going on in Dortmund, Germany right now. So there's going to be some more expansion with that. Coincidentally, um, I had several countries, not like the presidents or anything, but people that represent brands in those countries and cigars. I had several countries reach out to me and distributors in those countries said, "Hey, we want to meet the people from Bentley." And I told them you need to go over and see the Schusters at the show in Dortmund. I was going to be at the show, but we're expanding here, and I have a anniversary event that I'm doing at a retail partner of ours and a long-term friend called the Cigar Shop in Cumming, Georgia. Tim Clifford, the owner there, a great guy and been a great supporter of me. He's doing his 20th anniversary, so I'm going up there this weekend. So I told him, my wife, so you got to go to Germany, and I was like, I you know what, it's more important that I go up and do this and support a friend here as we're building this. And there's no purpose of me having to be there in Germany at this point in time, but there were some international exposure with it too. And we have a press release coming out on the international stage. I believe it's coming out either tomorrow or Friday. That'll be for international announcing, the partnership of what we're doing. So yeah, it's been really fun. It's been really interesting, and it's been great for me to kind of access knowledge and things that I've had and things that I've learned um, for certain situations. I've had some, to be fully transparent. I've had some situations where retailers like, uh, this doesn't make sense to me, or I don't like this part of it, or whatever. Very few, but and I went back into my head and I started to try to pitch them. I was like, hey, this is why this will work, and this what, and I stopped and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, like we're going to be in 45 to 50 retailers in this first 30 days of us selling this stuff out here. I've got 80 or 90 that are interested that we're not quite ready for yet. And I'm sitting here trying to impress upon someone why it may work for them while they're giving me reasons why it may not, which is a barrier to entry. What you do as a normal sales side, break that down, right? You try to break that down, make the product work. But I said, at that point I was fortunate. I said, I don't need to do that right now. And this may not make sense for them, and that's fine. And, I was just like, I moved on to the next one. I was very respectful. We had a great discussion. I said, this may not make sense for you. If it changes and you have space and this makes sense for you, please, I'd love to visit it, but if not, fine. And that's fine. So, because you said it's very purposeful and, you just want to make sure you're either all in or all out, in anything that you do. And you want to be the same way, with your partnerships in retail and who's carrying and representing the brand for you in their side of the business.
First of all, just want to say shout out to Michael Herklots for being here with us tonight. What's up, Michael?
Hey, Michael.
Wishing John all the best wishes and continued success. Mike Palmer is here. Listen, Carney, I'm his new national sales manager BFF. So,
I've hung out with Palmer more now in the last just 2 months, and it's only been 2 or 3 times than I had in the previous 14 years. And I just happened to see him now, and we're slowly becoming BFFs. And I think there's going to be some tension on the Cigar Hustler podcast if this budding relationship continues now that he's national. And I do want to shout out to Herklots. I appreciate Michael very deeply, even more now, as I'm doing this venture on my own here. And fortunately, I have great partners in it, and I have a lot of respect for what Mike's done in the last few years, specifically with his launch of Ferio Tego. And the scope of his business is massive. It's a much bigger exposure than what we're doing. But there's a lot of things to take from lessons he's had, and the biggest one I'll say is being humble and open. I will be again I'll be transparent here. The best part about having it be my own is being able to make the decisions that I get to make on a daily basis. As I just said, retailers drive me nuts. So I was just like, I'm done talking. Like, I don't have to do this. And I said, now it is nice to be polite to that person and show them respect. So I didn't disrespect them by any means. But it was like, no, hey, you know what? This doesn't make sense for us, does it? No. And it didn't make sense because that person didn't quite grasp where we were at and what the concept was, which was fine. You know, that's up to them. They run their own store. But I will say the ability to communicate and make your own decisions is very empowering. But it's scary at the other end. And Mike already told me, he's like, you know, the highs are higher and the lows are lower. He goes, but when they are low, he goes, you're still making the decisions. So you still have that level of peace, as there is anxiety that goes along with it too. And I said, I'm fortunate to have him as a friend and a mentor, as he's gone down this a few years before me, and I've been watching everything he's been doing, and you'll probably see a little bit of what he's done in what I do, and I, you know, why recreate the wheel?
We also have a question from Teresa. Is it available in Houston, Texas?
I
It is
love that
available
you
in
actually called him Teresa, because it's actually my buddy Alex, but we give him a lot of crap.
Oh, I see. It's
because-
Teresa. Oh, I see. So it's like both of them. Okay.
Well, we basically say, like, Teresa, she carries his testicles around in her purse. So that's
Yeah.
actually
If you ever have a
perfect. That's
joint
actually perfect.
Facebook group, Facebook page together, there's something going on there. You're either a really good human being and a nice man and just want to be fully transparent, which that could be the case, or one of you screwed up at some point in time, and then you got the combined group.
Wow. What a
I don't know.
what an
That's how I look at it.
observation.
That may be wrong. That may be wrong. But if I am wrong, please let me know.
I forgot about
but
the train.
He had asked. Yeah, he had asked. Is it available in Houston, Texas? It is available in Houston, Texas. It's Stogie's World Class Cigars. We have some more coming in Texas soon too, and they're getting started up and will be popping up. You can check on our maps at us1.bentleytobacco.com.
Actually, let me hold this for a second.
We have that on. We have a nice retailer map on there. But yeah, Stogie's actually brought the cigars in before I got my hands on the brand here. The cigars were brought in the United States for kind of a little trial run about a year and a half ago, in early 2023. And Stogie's was one of, it was about 6 or 7 retailers that brought some in, and Stogie's was one of them. So they do have them in stock, and obviously we'll be working directly with them. I have a great relationship with them, and we'll be making that more and more accessible and a bigger feature in their outlet as well.
Very, very nice. Very, very nice. I have more, but I have to pause for a second because I don't want to forget about our friends at ST Dupont. That's right. Shake up the legacy at ST Dupont, featuring, I have several of their newest products. I know Kevin has one with him as well. The Fluo collection. That's right, the Fluo collection in the Maxi Jet.
Dirty. There we go.
There it is. Ooh, there we are. The single jet, Maxi Jet, and the Fluo. The Fluos have a matte black body to them with the trigger or igniter on the side with that nice neon color. Mine's orange, comes as the blue. Coop's got the green, I believe. So very, very, very cool. We call it tactical sexy. That's the less man-approved term. And then I also have the new Gradient collection in the beautiful. Oh, I tried to do that with my other thumb, and that failed. There we go. In the line 2, which everyone knows, the famous line 2. In the Gradient collection, beautiful designs, colors, very just. You know, it's sexy. I mean, it's ST Dupont. What am I going to say? So ask your local ST Dupont dealer, retailer for more information. If they don't carry ST Dupont, please ask them to do so because it would be a great addition to their shop. And I think John just got up. I wonder if he went to go grab his line 2 because John has a limited edition line 2 that's pretty awesome.
I do. I didn't go to do that. I actually shut the door because my daughter fell asleep. I didn't want the cigar to go in, but my line too. I have the Declaration of Independence.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, his is nice. I remember when that came out, and I was like, "Oh, this is sick." I'm like, Carney would like that. And then it was like 2 months later, I was like, "Oh shit, did you get one?" Yeah, it was awesome.
Let freedom ping.
That's right. Let freedom ping.
I love it.
So yeah, but we did have a hold on, let me find it. I almost lost it. From John, who said, "Mr. Carney, you are a high energy and very focused, organized, I believe, individual. Why did you not start your own brand?" This is a great question.
Really good question. That's John. Does he have a last name? Because I can't see it on
Lavelle.
my
John Lovell. John Lovell.
Okay, yeah. I know John from social media. We've probably met in person too. Super interesting question. So I had a lot of ideas and things that I was thinking about doing. So when I moved on and there was an opportunity to manage the dialogue of how it was going to go, I connected with the departure, the shoulders of giants concept that I had started with my dad as a hobby earlier in the year, and that's something my dad had done for 10 years. So if people follow the sogiants.com, the newsletter, my dad writes that once a month, and he's been doing it for 10 years, and he was looking for a way to. He was in his mid 70s. He turned 76 in November, and he was just kind of, he was retired and didn't have a lot going on. He lives in northern Maine. He stays very active, but he didn't get to be engaged with what he was passionate about, which is teaching leadership, because he lives in a small town in Maine. And I started learning some techniques, like some programming things. I started learning some AI integrations. I learned how to build chatbots, like real chatbots. And my goal with that was to create a chat bot for LFD, which was a like a little Lido, and the little Lido would like answer questions for people on the website. So if you had a question about where to find cigars or history, little Lido would teach you about things. And the goal was to eventually animate him. So what I started working was a bot called Pillar, which is on our website, and you can interact and talk to Pillar all you want. He's pretty wide open too. I don't have him too focused. Uh, so I attached it to that because I wasn't quite sure what was next, and for a couple reasons. One of the things I wanted to do, and this was my plan, was Shoulders of Giants could be a great way to have income. I could do some consulting things. I could build websites for people, and I could build them for myself too. And I I had that. So that was kind of my, not, I guess I'd say cover story, or like what I'm going to be doing for a short period of time, or what I'm going to be doing going forward, just so I could kind of step away and have some clarity with, clarity from the moment. And, but in that I had this project. It was called a 3-phase project. And right now we're about to announce phase 2 of that project. And it may involve Bentley, it most likely will. But phase 2 of the project is something we'll talk about in a little bit. It's currently active, so people could see it. So it's going to be, we haven't done any type of press release, but that's coming in the next probably 10 days. But phase 1 of the project was my own line of cigars. So I was like, okay, I have great relationships with factories. I have great relationships with people in the business. I'll have no issue getting a good product. But how the hell do I pay for it? Because I did very well, but I wasn't making FU money by any means. And you have to pay bills and you figure out what's next. And fortunately, my wife does well and has benefits with her job, so we get health insurance, and she does well. So it gave me a chance to kind of sit and focus and see what's next. But it was a plan to make my own line of cigars. So I had it all worked out. I kind of had concepts of how I would look at it, who I wanted to work with, and then I was trying to find a way to fund it. And the second phase of that project is a limited edition LE type product that's going to make some more sense here. We can talk about it tonight, and it will make more sense once the press release officially comes out. And then phase 3 is launching it and showing everything at the trade show in April in New Orleans. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, how am I going to do this? Don't have any money, don't have a job. I got the Shoulders of Giants thing on the side, which is fun, and I think it's some of my best work in terms of branding. It looks beautiful. The pillars are really cool, regal looking, big bot, and we did some unique stuff with it. But I'd be remiss to not focus something on cigars. So the plan was to have some sort of a cigar announcement relatively soon, whether it was a month, 2 months, 3 months. But have something before the end of the year of what I was doing. So in that time frame, I knew the Schuster family from Germany very well because we had done business together when we were with LFD. They'd actually distributed for a period of time in Europe, La Flor Dominicana over there. So we had a good relationship with them, and I knew Martin, who's the CEO now and the founder of Bentley. I knew him really well, and his father, Philip. So they had a great history, and their family's been in the tobacco business for over a century. And so we connected up, and how we connected up is for us to discuss, but there was no connection prior to this. And by the way, I had the same phone number for like 15 years. I don't know if I received any job offers or anything when I left, because everybody had my phone, and I didn't own that phone number. That was LFD's phone number. So I gave that back. And I had my own private phone, and I had people's numbers in there. But I was like, where's it going? So I'm sure when somebody turns that phone on, there's going to be uh, a whole ton of text messages and things in there. So would be in something interesting to see. But the plan was to have my own line, and so they attached to me, connected up with me. We started talking, and I said, well, this is a pretty cool brand. It was intriguing because it says Bentley. It's a very easy name to pronounce. It comes with a lot of strength around it. It's 2 syllables, Bentley, which is another easy thing. Multiple syllables in names are real challenging in cigar business, yet people still tend to do it. So I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I'm intrigued. I had actually smoked it when I was in Paris in May. So was familiar with it, but I didn't know it was them. And we started talking, and I said to myself, after our first meeting, I said, this could be something interesting. After our second meeting, which was much longer, our first meeting was probably just a half an hour to have a discussion about if there was interest in having a second meeting. And the second meeting went for several hours, and that's where I started asking questions. And I said to myself, I said, okay, I can go to Hoyta, Nicaragua, I can go to Aganorsa, I can go to endless places and work with them to get a good product. I smoked the Bentley product, and I said, I could have this cigar made and work with a manufacturer and develop something of this quality. And so I could do that. Second, I was like, if I did do that, I would have to start everything from zero, which is fine. And then even if I did do that, everything I did wouldn't be ready from day one. You'd be like, let's try these sizes first, right? Let's do these first 3 sizes, whatever I can afford. This is how the packaging is going to look based off of what I could afford. This is the barcodes that I could have based off of what I could afford. And, packaging, marketing, advertising, man, they had everything done. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, if I do my own line of cigars and build it from the ground up, it would be very rewarding. But very rarely, when do you get an opportunity to be partnered with something that starts at zero, that's that advanced and ready to go? So I said to myself, I said, this would be completely crazy, which, sometimes crazy works. But this is a volatile industry because of regulatory things that could potentially happen, and then the economy challenges and whatnot. It's at a spot where it's, I wouldn't say stagnant's the right word, but it's flat. As an industry, in some places that are shrinking and regressing, and some are some spots are succeeding, and growing. So I said, it would be kind of insane for me to go and start this fresh. And, hey, I'm going to start with 3 facings of cigars, bring them a shot, and then maybe we'll do another one. So this was done. It was, it was very simple. It was very organized. It was very elegant. The name's elegant. Obviously, it has a recognizable name to it. And I said, this is great. And the family had been in business for over a century, and they were working with a great factory. So the cigar side of it was settled. I said, that's great. I could do that. And then the brand side, to me, the final straw was, if I were to do my own brand, would it ever be, in my opinion, better branding and marketing and advertising setup, graphics, art, the whole deal? Would it be better than that? And I said, no. I go, it wouldn't be better than that. So to put my name on this just made sense. It was something I was very comfortable with. And I said the cigar side of it was what the important part of it was to me. First, and second is the branding. So the cigars lined up with it. Then I went on to number 2, and it made sense. So that's why I didn't do my own line of cigars. And I appreciate the comment, John, about being organized, because I am. And I had a very organized plan about it. And it got not uprooted. It just, another option presented itself. And it was great. I mean, there's a marketing team over there. They spent a lot of time taking pictures. Like, if you go on our website and you're a retailer, you can log into a retailer portal that we created. And if you want a picture of the cigars flat like this, horizontal, you can get a picture of every single cigar from the same exact angle, with the same exact lighting, with the same exact shadow. And we have all of the Photoshop documents of it too. So say your color scheme at your business is orange and pink, and you want orange and pink shadows, you can adjust the shadows and the logos, those are available in vector formats. They're available in the Photoshop formats. So the raw format of it was really available. And they spent a lot of time and effort in doing those things. And there was a lot of things that I want to do right. And when I put my name on something, I wanted to be able to do it fully right from the very beginning. And this Bentley gave me the keys to do that. And I said, do I go about this and try to do it and piecemeal this thing together, or do I say yes and work with these people that I have a ton of respect for and have worked with in the past, and take their baby for a ride and make it my baby here on behalf of them. And it was a no-brainer for me at that point. It maintained a level of freedom in the entrepreneurship that I wanted to experience. But they created something really special, and I really did see that this could be something that worked, and something I could get a fire behind and make part of what I am.
Jay Davis is with us. Shout out to Jay Davis, who, first comment, is it me or does Jonathan M. Carney look like the Green Lantern's brother? So there's comment number 1. 2, John, you've done an amazing job. The cigars and brand have been accepted wholeheartedly at our shop.
Jay has been a great relationship over the last many years. He was at your wedding when I was the best man and the flower girl. And no, Jay was really enthusiastic about it, and he brought it in, and it's been doing really well. And it's nice to see when you have a retailer get behind something and has a lot of positivity behind a brand. And they said that part of that is knowing that the factory that it came from, there's a lot of respect for that. And then I believe my palate and things that I choose to do, there was a respect level. And Jay bought in on it 100% and is having a lot of success with it here in the short period of time that's been going, and we'll continue to build with it there. Green Lantern. Yeah, I don't know if anybody saw the social media post I had with the caricature. I kind of feel like that caricature right now. My beard's getting a little longer. I'm trying to stay clean shaven too. You're keeping it lined up. But I could look like the Green Lantern. I like the green color, man. It's really growing on me. And my wife says I look nice in it. So
you do look good in green.
Yeah, expect a lot more green coming. If you don't like green, I'm sorry, because I'm going to be bringing a lot of green. But fortunately, we do have white as well.
Hey, just remember the Masters, they give out the green jacket. So, I mean,
that's right.
There's a lot to be said about green.
Hey, I've sold a lot of cigars that have a green color scheme to it before now, so it works.
We were talking about that on Spare Notes the other night, that cigars with like green in the band and green in the color scheme has been a big thing lately. So that's actually pretty cool
to
see you taking that to the next level.
I will say one thing. There's this big concept in this discussion going on in the premium cigar industry, and it's been going on for years, but the last 5 or 6 years it's been talked about more. But there's a lot of, like, Micallef's one of them. They have the Micallef Red, they have the black, the blue. And there's a color recognition, and color recognition in the naming of brands is not something that's a new concept. These companies that are naming cigars after colors are, one, smart, because it's the brand recognition and the color recognition with a brand is excellent. There's a reason why Coca-Cola is red with white lettering.
Right.
There's a reason why Johnny Walker did $11 billion last year in revenue, and they're based solely off of colors, right? Davidoff White Label is one. Padron even did the Padron Black, Atabey Black. You can go through anything. Rocky Patel Gold, and these have been going on for years. But this is not a new concept. It seems new in this industry because I think we're not behind on things, because there's been cigars that have been named by colors for decades, but it's something that's coming around right now because it's an easy identifier. So if somebody does like your product and you make it easy for them to identify with it or identify the product, it's a win for you, because it's a lot easier. And then another thing is naming. There's some shows that have talked about, and some things are out there. I know Abe brought it up on Abe and Coop brought it up about brands that are European brands that have come over here and haven't necessarily worked or whatever. Some of that's because the names are challenging. I mean, people even have a hard time naming cigars I'll use La Flor Dominicana for an example. Like, for somebody to pronounce that's not native Spanish speaking or not in the premium cigar industry and around that, it doesn't. That's a challenging word to say. That's why it changed to LFD, and it's a lot easier to say LFD than it is to say La Flor Dominicana. Um, One thing that I think that's been really good on just the brand side of this is anyone who speaks any type of language in the world, in a advanced culture, knows that that says Bentley. Okay, that's an easy word to say. It's very identifiable. And then also there's the green and the white, so there's two lines, and so it's very simple. What do you like? Bentley green, Bentley white, and so it's simple, it's easy, and there's a certain level of elegance that goes along with simplicity, in my opinion, that gets overlooked. And I think when people think simple, they sometimes to just communicate think that it's simple means inferior. Well, I don't know if any of you have gone to any high-end Michelin star restaurants, multiple Michelin star restaurants. The dish that gets put in front of you is visually appealing, but it's very simple. It's very minimalistic to an extent, but there's a lot of complexity that goes into it. But the reason you're able to identify with it is because it's simple individual items per course, and there's a lot of unique things that go along with that. And that's the same concept that I have in my mind when naming something and then identifying with the Bentley brand. What made it appealing to me was there was things that they did that made sense to me that I would have liked to have done in my fully my own brand, and it just wasn't attainable in the time frame that I would want to do it. So it was kind of, it's just, to go back to John's question, it was just kind of a no-brainer. But I did want to bring up the thing, like naming something based off of color is not a new concept in this world. It's not new in the cigar industry, and it's making things less confusing for people is a positive thing.
No, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, when you talk about the retailers, this is the point that I've brought up mostly on the other show, like Kevin said when we've talked about this, is when you get down to the retailers and the consumers that walk into the store and they're looking for something, not everyone's like us, where like they know all the brands and all the lines and all the sizes and everything, and believe me, that doesn't mean that anyone's, not, better than anyone else or anything like that. But some people are more casual with their cigar smoking, so they're not as in tune, and that's okay. They're not like obsessed with it like the three of us are, which honestly that's a good thing. But my point is that sometimes people go into a store and they see these cigars and they try something and they really like it, and then they go back to the store and they're like, oh, I want to get more of those. I think it was a Padron. Which one was it? I'm not sure. It had like this yellow band, cream colored band with it. Was it the 64? Maybe. I don't know. And they look at, like I use Padron as an example. A lot of Padron cigars are, the boxes are all the same more or less. A lot of the cigars, to someone who doesn't know all the names and the bands, they look very similar. And same with a lot of brands, like Tatuaje has a lot of stuff like that where it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe. So when you have these brands that are using this whole color thing, where the color is the name, like John said, like Micallef, for example, has been doing their color series. Sen Pare, which I know we had them on that. Their whole line is just colors. There's the gold, there's the purple, there's the blue. Like that's their line. It's easy to be like, oh yeah, I had that brand. It was the blue one. Oh yeah, the blue.
Yeah.
And it's
you
easy to
said
connect
something
with.
unique. Like Padron does have some confusing things if you don't know about it, but one thing
Right.
that's not confusing is the word Padron.
True.
Now, somebody might mispronounce it, but it's still not that hard. It's Padron, two syllables, right? Davidoff's another one. Davidoff, two syllables. Easy for people to pronounce. They may mispronounce it, but it's still easy. And then you have recognition of that brand, and they've, those brands have transcended it. Padron has transcended the concept of naming. But if you think about it, Padron is very simple. It's the Padron series, 64 and the 26, and they make some limited edition SKUs and things in there. The Family Reserve, is part of the 64 series, and then they have
Damaso.
the Black series and the Damaso. But it's really what Padron really is when you would think about it is three different lines of cigars made in Maduro and Natural, and then they introduced the Damaso back like 7-8 years ago, I think now. But it's still that's a simple concept. So why reinvent something and make it confusing for the sake of confusion is what I look at.
Right, yeah.
Davidoff's very simple. They have names for everything, right? But it's Davidoff White Label. It's Davidoff Nicaragua, Davidoff Escurio, Davidoff Yamasa, Davidoff Winston Churchill. So it's very identifiable what those things are, and
Yeah.
they're in a different boat where each brand has its own very different look with the Davidoff name. So it's a different type of concept than the Padron thing, but still not super confusing. And even if you don't know the name of the cigar, the exact size or whatever it is, they have a number system, I think, most of it. But you say, oh, I smoked the Davidoff White Label Grand Cru Robusto, Churchill, Toro, Petite Robusto, half Corona, those different things. So there's simplicity to things, and as you can, obviously we don't have the breadth of that product, but it's green and white. There's 4 sizes in each. There's Corona, Robusto, Toro, and Churchill. And the Churchill's a 7x54, so it's not a true Churchill. It tends to be a little bit larger cigar. And that's in the green, which is Habano, Rosado being the color grading of it, and then the white being the Connecticut shade. And it's simple. Simplicity doesn't have to mean to people that it's not complex. What simplicity allows is for access to complexity and without confusion. I'm going to leave it at that because I think that's a pretty good quote right there.
No, I look at it as
agree.
Simplicity. It makes it easily identifiable. I mean, when you go into a B&M, I mean, we've all been into, there's B&Ms that are tiny. I mean, and there's B&Ms that, are expansive that have, thousands of SKUs in the humidor. And when you go in there and, green and it's white, makes it pretty easily identifiable in the humidor that you know what you're looking for. You can just go in, get right to it and grab it. So it follows, what is it, the KISS principle, right? Keep it simple, stupid. I mean, and to your point, simple doesn't mean low quality. It just makes it easier to identify a quality product if you keep the identification of that product simple.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to write that one down too. It's like simplicity allows access to complex experiences, and then allows people to comprehend them in a better way. And so I've really enjoyed what they've done. That's how we're going to promote. That's how we're proceeding with it, and that's how we're working at it with the retailers too. We want this to be transparent. We want this something to be easy for you to sell. We want it to, not easy in the sense of people just walking through the door and buying it, but easy for you to get behind it. I had a retailer that's a good friend of mine that was in the industry for a period of time with some big companies. He was a salesperson and started his own stores. And I'll shout out to him. His name's Dan Greenwald. He's got cigars on Maybank and cigars on 17th in Charleston. And Dan's a great guy. And he called me up and he said, I told myself I was done with shiny objects. He was in the cigar industry. He goes, but I think this is going to work. He's like, I like what you're doing with it, and I really like the brand. And for all the reasons that we talked about, and I'm like, man, we're on the same page with this, and this is how I'm doing it. And we're, and I backed that up. And he's like, all right, then I'm in. And I just said, he's like, I'm done with shiny objects after this. He goes, this is the last one. I said, well, maybe we'll have some shinier things, some other shiny things inside the brand. I go, this was one shiny object that if you go in, at least you're going to know, at the very least, that I'm going to be behind it and I'm supporting you. This is not a quick hit type concept for me. This is what I want my legacy to be a part of, and and what I'm going to be identified with. So it was a win-win, but it was funny, because I think that is a thing in the cigar industry. It's, there are shiny new objects. There's unknowns in the people that you're dealing with. And I think that's what's been good for the short term for us, and why it's been successful like it has been just in 12 days. Because people, there's an expectation of what they're going to get with it. The brand looks nice, a very identifiable name. The concept is very streamlined, makes sense. It's the right sizes, the right price point, and then there's the right person behind it that they've worked with. That there's a lot of like-mindedness with that, and respect that goes both ways of how this is going to work.
It kind of hits like something you mentioned earlier, where you mentioned, if you go to a Michelin rated restaurant, and you get their signature dish, it's typically, it's elegant, but it's simple in the components of it. It's a relatively simple dish, right? And I think that
Hmm.
also even extends to their menu. A lot of the Michelin restaurants, they don't have the menu that's super confusing, has a ton of choices. It has a few super high quality choices that's clearly explained and clearly identified, and allows you to experience what they have to offer without having to really put a whole bunch of thought into it or think outside the box. It's just, this looks good, this looks good. And when you get it, it's going to be good. So,
Yeah, and I also identified that everybody's not going to agree with everything that that I'm presenting. Um, I know it's the right way to do it, but there's always going to be input one way or the other. And our goal is to do it as right as possible. And as I said, not leave anybody behind, and certainly not do anything that damages a retail's ability to sell the cigar at the price that it should be at. So we're doing a lot of things to protect our retail partners. Part of that's by the natural growth of it. We're not in retail partners, so everybody that we're working with is very reputable. I've had people ask, they said, "Oh, how are you going to price protect this?" And I said, "Well, I'm not going to sell to the 25 people that wholesale the product out to people that discount the products on all these websites and sell to and wholesale out to convenience stores." I go, "I know who those people are. I don't disrespect their business. It just doesn't align with what I'm doing and what Bentley's doing." And I had somebody look at me that worked for another company, and they're like, "Dude, I'm so envious that you don't have to deal with that." And I said, "Yeah." And I go, "And by the way, if it does pop up somewhere, I'm going to know really quickly who did it." It's very easy.
yeah.
So, and I said, I don't disrespect those people for making money doing that. There's right and wrong ways to do things, in my opinion, in terms of how you would present a brand. But I'm not saying anybody's doing anything illegal, and if they are, that's not my job to judge it. But I'm just not going to be in those places. I know who those people are. I know who wants to act like they're buying more product, and then they wholesale it off to a big discount website and make 2 or 3% on it, and it just makes their ego big, and they don't make anything. I know that stuff, and that's fine. And I respect those people for what they want to do. But we're just not going to be a part of it, and it's very easy for me to identify that. But then I do return that. I said, "Hey, well, I'm envious that you're making, that you're make the money that you make. You're doing really well with it, and that's a decision that was made. It's just, our path is going to be slower. Our path is going to be more deliberate, and our path is going to really give back to the brick and mortar retailers that really focus on building something special and unique within their community and where their stores are located."
I love to
Absolutely.
see that. Love to see that, because the B&Ms, it's like a lot of people don't understand how important the B&M is to our industry.
I've turned down some big numbers already, so if anybody's curious, I am saying no. And they do throw around a lot of big numbers, and that's cool. And I get it when I get why people might do it. Uh, I will, I will, I will not do that. I will. What I was about to say is, I don't. My wife might be watching, but like, I'll lose everything before I do that. And I'm not going to sell my soul to do that type of situation. I spent a lot of time with LFD learning that. LFD got big, and had a bigger scope, but we did a great job there of protecting the product. And part of it was through, supply and demand as well. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to just take the paycheck because that's an easy out. You can make a lot of money, but then I've watched a lot of brands after 5 or 6, 7 years of doing that. They had a lot of money, and then they can't even sell their cigars anymore. There's a lot of dead brands out there that may do well, but I'd rather be able to go and look somebody in the eye, look a retail partner in the eye, and say, "We're not going to grow too big. We're not going to grow at your expense. So if this doesn't work for you, it's because something went wrong in the process, not because of something that we did, or at the expense of us making money somewhere else." So everybody has the equal opportunity here. Everybody's got the opportunity to be as successful as they want to be with it. And I hope the retailers that we work with, and I do feel like they are, are going to feel that way and give it its best shot, because there's not a lot of brands out there that can do this. Everybody would like to, but a lot of these companies that got bigger, they're beholden to some of those relationships. They make a lot of money off them. They have relationships with them where they can't pull that away without having a headache. They could, but sometimes it's tough to rip the Band-Aid off. Sometimes you just leave it on. And then there's companies that have done it, and their brands just go off into the distance and become something where they just get chewing up on margins, and then the strong retailers just don't sell those cigars. So we want to take away every reason that someone would have to not support us on a brick and mortar level, and then do make the right decisions on the back end. And I'd rather slowly work to 300 or 400 accounts over a period of 6 or 7 years than to jump into a large amount of accounts into wholesalers and make that kind of money right up front at the expense of 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road, having problems where the cigars don't hold the same value that they should.
Right. And you see that. I mean, there's I'm not going to mention names, but I mean, I can see that there's several brands that come to mind that facing that now. That kind of try to have.
I've watched it for 15 years, and LFD being a massive brand. I mean, the tomfoolery that goes on behind the scenes for some of this stuff is bonkers to me. And there's a lot of money made in those types of things, which is great. But if this becomes successful, I'm fine with making a modest income. I'm fine with being successful. Like, how much success can you handle? I just want success with this. And however that looks, I'll live within those means. And the same thing for our retailers. I want it to be equal. I want everyone to win, and I want everybody to equally win based off of their scope in the business. If you have 3 stores, you're going to win more than somebody that has 1 store in a smaller area. But that person can win the same way, which is fine. So that's really the focus with it. And I said, I've told people straight up, I'm not going to sell out. I'm not dumping stuff to a big wholesaler just to make money. If it doesn't make sense, I'm going to tell them no, and I'm fine with that.
Well, I think the sustainability aspect of it has a lot to say to it as well. Where you're saying, you're foregoing the big cash hit up front that may subside along the way, where if it's sustainable and you just maintain that level as it goes, and it just grows a little bit along time, I think I think that's a much better aspect than trying to take the one-hit wonder.
It is, and it's hard not to, because you don't get to see the damage of it until a longer down the path. You get further down the path, you don't see the damage of it. But if this industry is more open to people having consultative roles, there would have been people that I spoke to, because I did speak to some brands in the time that I was off about different things that I would do, and they got into some consulting discussions with me. But everybody, for the most part, has the lane that they're in, and they know how that lane operates, and they think they're right, which is fine. And I'm not looking at the outside in on some of these things. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what they pay. I don't know if they may be fine with doing it that way, making a lot of money and doing it at the expense of damaging something long term, and then maybe selling it, or constantly reinventing. Companies that are constantly coming out with brand new cigars, they're doing something along the lines that's causing that to decline in demand on the existing ones to have to do that. Doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just another type of way of doing business. But you take a guy like Nick Perdomo. Nick's massive, man. He doesn't come out with a lot of new stuff.
No.
So he's doing a really good job of managing a very big version of what I'm talking about, and I give him a lot of respect for that. And he stayed gung-ho, and he's one of the people that gets to play in all avenues too. I mean, he has cigars all the way down from like $2 to $3 all the way up to $30, $40 when he did the Edition Silvio, and those cigars maintain those prices everywhere. If you want a $4 or $5 Perdomo, you buy a Nick stick. If you want a $10 or $11 or $12 Perdomo, you buy, I think, the champagnes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done a phenomenal job on it, and that's better than constantly coming out with a $12 cigar and then having it be $6 in the blowout magazine 8 months, 9 months, and then we come out with a new one, and then it's $6, $8 again. And And people that continue to buy those things that aren't buying it at the $6, I mean, you're kind of just part of their game. You're the reason it's enabling it, right? If you constantly keep buying something at $10 to $12 and then it churns up at $6, I mean, you're the reason why they're doing it. Oh, let's just throw it out there. We'll sell it to as many people as we can at 12 bucks. And then after 8 months, if it doesn't work, we'll give everybody 30% off that wants to get it out real quick. Then it'll be in all these discount things. And then people will buy that up. And then guess what we're going to do? We're going to do it again next year. Let's do it again.
Just
It's a way
devalues
of
the
doing
brand.
business. Yeah, 100%, 100%. So
Totally,
we're not going to
totally
do that.
devalues the brand.
Not to really get away from this conversation. This is actually a great topic, and I'm glad, John, that you actually went into this and really talked about it, because it's really a good thing to kind of go over. But I do want to do our news segment really quickly. And Kevin, I'm gonna have you start us off there. Our news is once again brought to you by Micallef Cigars, featuring the new Color Series. That's right, black, blue, and now the red. Ask your local brick and mortar retailers for Micallef Cigars today. Kevin, what do we have on the docket this week?
We actually have something pretty cool. It's like we have our J.C. Newman has shipped their 2024 edition of the Bricktoberfest cigar. I mean, it's getting into the fall of the year, Oktoberfest, everything.
It's that time.
Everybody's, it's that time, right?
Can't believe it's already the fall.
It's crazy. I can't believe October's just around the corner.
Jesus, wow, where did it go?
But this year, J.C. Newman, they've released the Bricktoberfest. It's a 6x52 cigar with a pigtail cap. They come in 10 count boxes with a retail price of $10 per cigar. And the retailers that have them will also have the Bricktoberfest Stein. So
nice.
you can have your beer with your cigar. I mean, and totally celebrate the Oktoberfest with a cigar, as you should, right?
That's right.
So, guys, check those out at your retailers, and don't miss out because they are a limited run once a year.
They're pretty good
And
too.
they are
I mean,
very good
I've
cigars.
smoked them the last
They're
5
very
years.
good.
They're fucking awesome.
Yeah, this year it's a Rosado wrapper grown in Ecuador, and then in binder and filler with Nicaraguan tobaccos that are rolled at Pensa and Esteli. So they are. It's going to be a good cigar.
Yeah. Those have been pretty good the last couple of years. I really liked those.
Got a couple of the Steins sitting around here, from
too,
years gone by.
Somewhere. Those are cool. I've actually drank out of those, and I actually got Nicole's brother. Was it Nicole's brother? I think it was Nicole's brother to chug a beer out of one of those, and it was really cool to watch. It was fun. I think it holds like 3 beers.
Probably. And if you're drinking from a Stein like that, I mean, it has to be German beer. It just has to be. If it's not German beer, then
Undebecks. For those who know what that is. I'm German. I can do that. I grew up in a very German environment. And my mother's family is from Germany and Poland, and so I grew up with a lot of German influence in foods and stuff like that. So, which I have to say it's awesome. If it ends in worst, I'll eat it. Yeah, you heard that right.
When I think of
liverwurst, I eat liverwurst. I enjoy it. It's good.
I think of Oktoberfest, I think of that like crazy Farley Brothers movie Beer Fest.
That's what that was from.
Yep.
Undebecks. Yeah, what a great movie. They really got it right.
If you drink this much, you will die.
But anyway, that is our news for the week. So, thank you, Kevin, for reading that off. We'll get back to John, who's our center of attention tonight, which I'm so happy to have him here. Been smoking my Bentley Churchill here, the green. And again, this cigar is phenomenal. Very phenomenal. I really I've really been enjoying these. It starts off the few that I've had, obviously, all pretty consistent, and so far so good. I mean, I've only smoked a couple, but again, so far so good. I really do enjoy these, and I'm excited to kind of to see more and try more and see, obviously as the company grows, which John's talked a little about tonight, and kind of looking at what their
You,
plan is, and
you know, I do want to make a point about organization.
oh, here we go.
Since you
Love it.
accused,
I'm a huge organization enthusiast.
you accuse our good friend John
Is
of
that
being
even a thing?
disorganized. You have some of these cigars at the studio. I would think an organized show host would have maybe made sure his co-host had one of these cigars to smoke tonight.
In the 7 days that I've had them, I've had very little free time to do anything. So a very organized show host has organized about 90% of his time at work, and has really not been home. So that is why the organized show host has not sent anything out to anybody yet.
I will say, in the defense of both of you, where John, totally understand your samples are going to retailers as they should be, and Matthew, I understand you're busy. I could have, if I was a little more organized, I could have reached out to our wonderful sponsor, Two Guys Cigars, and made sure that I ordered some and had some here for the show. So
that's also very true. That's also
I will
very
say
true.
that. So I will own that.
Take some blame. Let's all share it. Let's all share it around. Let's make it equal.
I'll share it too. I could have sent some out. We decided to do the show like 3 or 4 days ago, and I'm going to be honest with you, since I'm a private entrepreneur here now.
You can do whatever you want.
And we've created Bentley Tobacco USA, and I am the face of that, and that's me. And I wasn't going to overnight 4 or 5 cigars to you, Kevin, for about $200. Wasn't happening.
It's totally a point. I will say that when the show is over, I will be logging on to twoguyscigars.com and ordering some. So I have some of the green and some of the white to try.
Yeah, and then I will get some stuff to you guys too, and we will.
Are they in? They do have them in stock.
Yeah, they're in stock.
They already got it. Wow.
Nice. Yeah, they're on their website. I actually shared the link in the comments earlier tonight.
Yeah, they work quick. I'll tell them, because I mean, you were just up here like last week, and wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
Two Guys is on their shit. They're very organized.
I'm definitely eager to try. One of the things that I found interesting, I mean, I don't know if I can say this on the show, but I'm going to say it anyhow, was when you announced this, John.
That's
one
my
of the
motto.
things that I found interesting was that Steve Saka actually had a lot of positive to say, and that almost goes to show, number one, the respect you've earned in the industry, right? But number two, the quality of the product that you're representing, because Saka doesn't give props to just anybody.
That's true. He's not even satisfied with his own stuff half the time.
It was
very picky.
So Steve and I have always had a great relationship. The last few years, we've interacted a lot more as we started to know each other better. Obviously, we had the situation where I went on the Cigar Authority and talked about the Brulee in 2019, I think it was, or 18.
Oh, I remember that.
I
was there. I was there. I remember that.
Yeah. I was having a bad day and I went off. And but no, he and I had a great relationship, and there's a lot of things that I watch him do, and I have a lot of respect for him. And he's been projects that I've been involved in. He's paid attention to, and I woke up one morning and it was like Steve Saka tagged you in a post, and I thought, Steve doesn't ever do that hashtag or the @everyone type thing. So I was like, all right, this must be something where he either commented, he must have commented about me, but it was like he mentioned you in a post. So I was like, So I jumped on and I saw that really nice post that he made, and it really was a nice gesture. He's a legend in the business, and he's created something that's incredibly different than what anybody else has in terms of his following. And his the way his analytical side of the business is unmatched. The things we hear him say, and the amount of stuff that he puts out there. That's just part of what when you hear somebody saying something, that's just a little bit of what's going on in their head. With the amount of stuff he puts out, and it's got to be insane up there, right? It's got to be insanity going on in his head, and just to have a little bit of that be, a little bit of that thought and stuff to be focused on something I was doing, and the Schuster family in Germany with Bentley was a really nice gesture, and I certainly appreciated it, and it meant a lot, and I think a lot of people saw that too, and it was a really nice gesture, and we appreciated it as a brand, but personally I really appreciated it, and it meant a lot. It wasn't an easy time for me, moving on from what I was doing for 14 or 15 years. There was a lot of pomp and circumstance and friendly things around it, but it wasn't easy, and it wasn't an easy step away, and it wasn't. There was some really shitty times, man. I'll tell you, and there's probably more ahead. But that first couple weeks, I got baptized in it, and there was I spent some time with family. But then after the dust kind of settles, like, what do I do? How do I pay bills? How do I do this? How do I do that? And a lot of people think, how is that coming from the vice president of a cigar company? You can think whatever you want to about the situation. But it wasn't really that great of a time, and it really wasn't a lot of positives going on personally inside my head. And when it was finally time to make the announcement, and people started figuring out that I was doing something, it was really personally, motivating and rewarding to me to have that, because one, I needed it. I'm pretty self-confident, but when you get knocked down a few pegs, you start looking up and wondering, like, what's going on. So it was huge to have those things, and they happened at the right time, and now we got to be successful with it and go from there, and we're going to be. There's no other option.
Bam! Look at this. Vince just ordered Bentley cigars from two guys. Look at that.
There you, amen.
That's
Vince.
The way you do it, right there. That's the way.
Thank you,
John.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. I'm blown away by how people are supportive of this. People that have followed me, their interest level in it, the direct messages I got. I had over 20,000 social media impressions within the first 2 days of making this announcement.
That's insane.
I had no clue that I had that type of bandwidth, and the people that had that type of interest in what I was doing. And it really blew me away, man. One day I was sitting in the car having a cigar, and I kind of a tear in my eye, like pride. I'm like, wow, this was great. And then it's nice to hear positive things, but it hasn't been to pump me up. It's just people talking honestly about it. And I never really had that honest conversation with people. And I think it's because people identified hey, this was a big risk. This was a big jump, whatever the situation was. Hey, I want to make sure that this person has the support, and I've really seen it and felt it, and I really do appreciate it. My family appreciates it, and it's been good.
That's one of the things I actually wanted to I don't know, ask or make a comment. It's just from your departure from LFD. I know you had a couple side projects. You had you had the Shoulders of Giants, and then you had kind of your foodie thing that you're doing. But really, when you left, you really didn't have a whole lot of time to catch your breath. It's like you seem like you're always the forward-thinking guy. Like you're always looking, like what's next. You really didn't take a whole hell of a lot of time to take a big breath before you jumped into the next project, right?
Well, it's an interesting observation. No, I didn't. These things were. I have ideas for everything. Matt can tell you that there's always some crazy ideas going on. But when I had the time to think about it, there was an option. It was like, do I take a month and go away, or a few months and go away and then come back and try to see what it is? And I was like, there's a lot of momentum right here. I had a lot of momentum. LFD had a lot of momentum. I was like, I can't take my foot off the gas here. So I got to keep the wheels churning. I got to be ready when the opportunity strikes, whether it was with an investor for my own, fully creating my own line, or if there was a situation like Bentley, which really ended up being a perfect situation in regards to the product. And they said we still have to be successful with it. Just because I'm doing it doesn't mean I'm like Scrooge McDuck rolling around in freaking cash or anything. That's not
Right.
realistic. I mean, I'm grinding day to day. Um, but so like, yeah, when you buy a cigar, like the person, Vince just bought a box of cigars, bought cigars. I mean, in 3 weeks that goes into my bank account. A portion of that, and I appreciate that. Like it really has an impact, and we're grinding on it. And I was like, no, I can't take my foot off the gas because when it does start, um, you got to be ready to go. Yeah, and that's when I was, when I did the press release on my departure, it was the same thing. I'm like, I got to throw shoulders of giants out there because who knows what that might become? Who knows what that might be? Now it's become a leadership and hobby side for me, and it's a face of essentially consulting that I will do, and it's really the culmination of my father's whole career in leadership there. So continuing on his legacy, and the same thing with the food concept, the snack shack. That was something I started with him doing. I'm not doing that full time. It's something I do for fun on Sundays. And I was like, no, I can't. If I take my foot off the gas, I'm going to be playing from behind. And then when somebody comes and contacts me, whether it's an investor or it was the brand, the Schusters, I had to be ready to go. And I'll be funny. Part of the discussion was again, full transparency. I get to say what I want now, right? Fully. And,
True.
they said to me when we started, like, say we know you have a lot going on, so this may not be a big focus for you right now, and we're fine with being slow. And I said, I do have a lot going on. I go, but I threw everything out that I've ever had in my head, essentially, any type of ready to go business concept. I threw it all out to see what stuck. And a lot of it did stick in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the recognition or the branding of it, not necessarily financially. I said, but I go, you're going to find out really quickly that I'm in the process of focusing. So that was the first step where it was like, okay, now I have this. So now I can start focusing on my plan of how I was going to build a brand. And I could do it with them. And I'm getting a head start. It's like getting I'll use another car reference. It's like getting a car with a full tank of gas at a rental car company. You're ready to go. If you got to go stop and get gas, then you're behind already on your trip. Um, so I was ready to
Right.
go. I was ready to focus on it. It's the main part of my focus, and I do have projects that I'm working on with that. But this is my focus. This is the front mark of everything that I'm doing, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I had taken a breath and relaxed. It looked like I was relaxing behind the scenes, kind of. But then people are like, wait a minute, he's doing like everything right now. And that was just a matter of trying to figure out what was going to work in the short term. And as I figured out the cigar side, because I did know July 1st I left. On July 2nd, I knew I was not leaving the cigar industry. So when everybody thanked me for my farewell tour and hey, congratulations and this and that, I was careful what I said on it, but I knew I was coming back on July 2nd. I was not done in the cigar business, and it was just a
That
matter of
was
figuring out that process.
that was a no brainer. It's like anybody that knows you knows that you were going to land back in the industry somewhere. It was just a matter of where and when.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I having John in the industry, I think is good for everybody, for a lot of the reasons that he already shared with us tonight. So when he left LFD, I mean, I without saying too much, I mean, I knew he had some ideas and things like he mentioned, like that, I was like, yeah, and obviously very cool stuff and very exciting, and I won't share all of that, but I heard some things and I was like, oh, that's cool, and some of those I was like, oh, I really hope you do, and part of it was being involved in the industry, and like, oh, I really hope that that goes that way. And so when he said like, no, it's time, like I'm doing Bentley and this and that, I was like, oh, part of me was like, thank God, because something about just John was, like I said in the beginning of the show, John was here at Smokin Tabacco day one. John is the reason why, well, it's part of the reason, to be here. He's a major part of the reason, why we're here. So just even to think, not even being around in the industry, it was such a weird concept, and it's an industry he knows very well and is very good at. But honestly, John could go into any industry and succeed very well. Yeah, maybe some industries he'd have to kind of learn and start over a little bit, you know. But when the Bentley thing, was like, yeah, no, we're doing this. Yeah, it was very cool to see, and I'm very happy for him. Because like I said, like I know he's gonna do well, and you're already kind of seeing it now, and it's I like the concept. Like John, like you were saying about how, like, people are like, well, why didn't you start your own brand? But I like the way you're doing this is I think it's the right way, and
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
it's awesome.
as big as a presence as John built for himself in the industry in years past. I mean, it almost brings to light the cigar industry needs Jon Carney,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
found a way. He found a way, and he found the right way to be here. I
and
mean, it's not. It wouldn't be the same without you, dude. I
and
mean,
leave it.
just bottom line, it would not be the same without you here.
And honestly, leave it to Jon Carney to find a unique way to kind of attack, with what you're doing and how you're doing it is, because John could have taken the easy way out. He could have maybe just not even got back into the industry. There's so many different ways you could have gone with this. Like we've talked about this all night. Um, but yeah, that just also just goes to show, like, the kind of thinking and the mentality that he has, to be able to sit down and to weigh those options and to put some things together and be like, well, if I do this and this, and hey, this could be something, and you're doing it, man. And look, it's already blossoming. You know what I mean? So dude, a year from now, who knows, man? It's gonna be huge.
Well, I can totally relate. I mean, I'm in this, my professional career. I'm in the sales industry, and I mean, the only way to be successful in the sales industry is forward thinking and always moving to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And John, I think you've definitely established that, and you're definitely you don't know how to go backwards. All you know how to do is move forward, and you're doing a great job, buddy.
There's not a lot of needs in the cigar business because there's so many great brands out there. So to identify what the industry may need, is it's got to be very focused and it's got to be very purposeful, as I said, what we're doing, and to have a high level of success for an extended period of time, which is the goal here. We're very happy on the short term, right? But to continue that on, you've got to live that need, right? And for 14 years, there was a model that I was participating in and a model that I helped build that worked. And there was a lot of benefits that came along with that. The fact that Lido owned a farm and a factory, it built that brand up. But I joined that company when they'd been around for about 15 years. I was there half the time they were in business. So there was a lot of progression that came with it, and I got to see a lot of things done right. There was things that were done, that were done wrong, as in anything. But the majority of it was right, and it was, it was a lot to learn and a lot to see and analyze and learn from other companies. So, I found, and, people watch me on social media where I'm asking questions. I never thought the industry's broken. I just really wanted people's opinions, and the only way to do that was to have like visceral questions, where I was like, the cigar industry's broken. What do they do wrong? And people went off, and it was awesome, and it was really heartfelt, and a lot of those things I already had written down and organized, and I looked at it and I was like, then there was things that I picked up too. There's always something to get. Like, I really do enjoy people that have a difference of opinion on something. Whether I think they're right or wrong, I have the ability to agree with that, but or not. But I want to hear what their opinions are, and that does go into things. Whether I do it or not may not happen that way. But every comment that anybody made, or even a comment people make now, will go into the things that we're doing to make it as purposeful and as successful for those retailers that do join on. So, like, my promise to them, I'm not going to screw you. I haven't done it for 14, 15 years. We're not going to do it again here. But that's a really niche part of this market that was underserved or not served at all, was identifying how to connect with a retailer with a brand. The Bentley brand was great, so I knew that was going to work. They did everything right with building it. and be having it be successful in Europe. And then when you introduce it to the largest premium cigar market in the world, and you keep doing the right things and you instill those right things in, it's going to build success going forward. And it just made sense when we started talking. It was like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. And they were like, yes, whatever you want to do, go. We agree. This is how we built it. We're just from Germany and don't know how to do it over there. We need somebody that's lived it and done it. And, and the unique side of it was, I said to them, I said, in reality, we shouldn't even be having this conversation right now. Because what are the odds that you have somebody that's been in an executive level at a high level, right in the middle of their prime, really, that becomes randomly available on July 1st? And that was the only pompous thing I said. I was trying to build myself up a little bit, but it really wasn't. I always had this saying, it's not cocky if it's the truth. Dude, I was kicking ass.
No.
We were
Rock
celebrating
said,
30 years. We were kicking ass. I was kicking ass. I'm still ready to kick ass. So it's like, yeah, you know what? This lines up with my vision. My vision lines up with your vision. Let's get this done together and go forward here, because we've got a lot of things that we can do right, and this market, the cigar industry, has room for an organization and a brand that's doing that.
John, I just wanted to add in there what you were saying. Those who remember, the great Kid Rock said, they say I'm cocky. And I said, what? It ain't bragging, motherfucker, if you back it up. Come on, man.
So yeah, and then that's where I'm at now. We've got a lot of that. We've got a lot of excitement around it, and now as we get to the end of the year and we start to go, and I'm going to be doing some experiences around the country. Very few, but not a ton. But I am going to do some to just kind of get the juices flowing again, and grease the wheels. And I use car references all the time. We are not related to the car company, and so I just want to let people know that I do use car references. Matt can attest to that. I use that stuff all the time. Let's ride, let's go,
Yes.
Grease the wheels, the squeaky wheel. Here are the keys to this. I use that stuff all the time. It was really as we get into next year, I've said to my partners in this, the Schuster family, I said, now I'm going to show you why this worked out well to start, and why there was excitement behind it. Because once I start doing the things that built this reputation and built what I've become in this industry, once I start doing those things again, it's going to be even more successful. And then we're going to start to identify even more things. And if we're maintaining that path and maintaining our lane, and being very understanding of and in touch with our retailers, in touch with the consumers, and listening and watching to what they want, what they need, and how we fit into that, we're going to have a lot of success for it. We're going to have a lot of success, as I said. That's something that's needed in this industry, and it just needed a brand that had that was simple and elegant and complex at the same time, easily recognizable, easy to identify. That was doing the right things. It's open to changing quickly if the right thing needs to be done differently, and then having the right person lighting the fire and being there to support it at the same time. So,
Hey,
Jon Carney, the Yoda of the cigar industry. There's no try, only do.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Now, I will say, if this thing does take off and all your other ventures take off, and you're
What do you mean if? It's already taken off.
well, you know what I mean. You get to that, because when you get to that point, right?
You have to have you got to have sustained success, right? I wouldn't judge the launch has been a success, and it's a small launch, and that's been successful, and it's been a lot of excitement. We're not anywhere near where we hope to be in terms of recognition, but it has been a great start. If there's anybody that's on social media at all, which are a lot of people in this industry, they're hearing, people hear about it and are very aware of it, and it's been huge. But we do understand there's a next step. There's people that still don't know it, and there will be people that always don't know it. There's people that don't that just don't get into things that way, but they still enjoy premium cigars. So how do we get in front of that person? How do we get in front of other things? just because you've had success doesn't mean it's the ultimate success, right? So, the goal is to stack up many successful things. So, hopefully
Right.
everything you do is you have more successes than failures, or you have more steps forward than back. There will be steps back. And hopefully those aren't things that are noticeable. Those are just, maybe there's a slow time, things like that. But the goal is to just stack up successes and then have sustainable successes continuously going on.
I was just going to say that it seems like the trajectory you have established out of the gate is a sustainable trajectory. It's not, you haven't set like a goal way up here and you guys are down here yet. It's like it's just kind of everything is kind of in line, and it's it's working its way up the chain.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Well, guys, I think that's going to be the end of our show. Looking at the time, it's getting to that point. We have to start wrapping up the show. But John, first of all, I want to thank you for being here tonight to talk about Bentley and everything you have going on. I think this was, this was exciting. This was, big for you, to really, sit down and really talk about it. Kind of, the end of LFD and the beginning of this and where you're going and kind of all that thing that a lot of, people who, maybe haven't caught some of the stuff you've been doing or shared, can maybe, kind of know and get to know a little bit about Bentley. And I'll tell you, there's been a lot of people ordering Bentley tonight from comments I've seen and messages I've got. And so I think, I don't know, people are starting to really buy into this. So hopefully they all love it too, as much as I do. I mean, I think they're great. So it's awesome. Every time you're on the show, that it's special. Every time you're on the show, regardless of why or what it is, or it just always takes me back to the early days, and that's a fun time to remember. So this is
Yep.
This is cool. So
It is. It is. So I'll tell people, my final statement going back. You guys will have I'll give you guys the last word. But if you've got interest in at Bentley, you can obviously follow me on social media. I make that pretty obvious. The website for Bentley's US1 Bentley tobacco.com. There's a lot of cool resources on there. We built that website up. I almost said because they did a lot of stuff because they had the resources. So I just took some great graphics and put it together. But I added the retailer portal. You can sign up on the email list there. Where we're going to start doing some interactive things starting next year, where we do some YouTube things, where we do pairings. We have a newsletter that we're going to have coming out for consumers and retailers to participate in. And if you're in media, we have a media channel, so you can go in there and sign up. We listen to the media. People are like, I have a hard time getting on an email list. So if you want to be on Bentley's email list as media, you can go on there and click the button that says media, and when we send out a media release, you'll be on there. And if you don't get it, it's because you haven't gone on there and filled it out. But if you want to follow some of my other ventures that we got going on, which again, I'm slowly focusing all those things together, but there are other cigar things that I'm doing. If you want to check that out, go to www.goldenpurveyors.com, and that's kind of my representation of me personally as a cigar person in the cigar business, and that has a few things on there that you can get a little sneak peek on that'll be coming in the next couple weeks. Most likely, they may end up being under the Bentley banner as we continue to grow with it. But as I said, you can check out some of the other things that I've done that have been kind of fun in the last few months on that Golden Purveyors website.
Absolutely. Well, guys, check that out, and don't forget to visit SmokinTobacco.com for more news, reviews, and other updates from the cigar industry. And we'll see you guys next week.